Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. This will be our third video into the Commvault automation using the REST API. So as you remember in the first video we have talked about the prerequisite. In the second video I have given you the idea about how to get the login token to execute any of the API command. So we'll require a token to execute any of the command. Now today what we are going to do is we are going to use one of the other REST API to execute some operation into the COM world. Okay, so let me take you to the page. So this is my COM world command center that I have right now. There is no job running in there. So what we are going to do is we are going to execute the DR backup. We are going to execute the DR backup using the Commvault API. So you can find that Commvault API under the Manage System Disaster Recovery Backup. In there, you have an API available to run the disaster recovery backup. So you can say disaster recovery backup. This operation runs the disaster recovery backup job. And then you can see the complete code for the Python if you click in there. So you can see the complete information that we required for this particular command to execute, like to run the DR backup. You can see the entire code over here. And what I have done is I have copied this entire code onto our script that we have created last time. So you can see that exact part I have just copy pasted over here. Okay, so whatever I was seeing over here, you can see that the exact one I have copy pasted over here. Okay, so what I have done is first of all, I have just put the URL in there. In the URL, you can see I have just put the Commvault host. So you can see this URL is exactly similar to what we have got it earlier on. Only thing is we have just changed, instead of login we have just put the Commserve DR backup because we want to execute the DR backup, and this is what the endpoint is there for executing the DR backup. You can see that they have just changed the Commserve DR backup over here. So this is the endpoint to execute the DR backup. Now there is one point to be noted in there. If you go into the documentation, it says Commserve DR backup. Like you can see the spelling as SERVE, but over here I have put it up as Comserve, COM capital S and RERV, not E in the end. Okay, and this information I got it from the Commvault documentation. Must be there is some problem with this API endpoint that they have put it up over here. It's not correct. I got the correct information from where. So there is a tab available with the name More Detail. If you click on the More Detail, it will take you to the Commvault official documentation, and in there you have the REST API information available for the post disaster recovery backup, and in there you can see the endpoint include Commserve DR backup. So I've just taken from there. Okay, I was trying to do the test using the one which they have defined on this over here on this API page, but it was not working. This was not working, so I got the correct information from the Commvault documentation. So that's the reason why I have changed it to the Commserve DR backup. Now in there, I have defined the payload. There is some information that you need to pass on in the format of JSON. As you can see, that is being written in the API format. There is some information that need to be passed on, like the DR backup that you are going to execute should be compressed or not. If true, like you want to have a compression, then you can put a value true. If not, you can put it the value as false. Now then you have to define the job type and backup type. I have put that information as one and one. What exactly it is? So guys, if you go to the REST API documentation, this page has that information available. Okay, so you can see job type. If you're using the JSON, you have to put one value if you want to run the backup immediately. Like it's a schedule. You can say that the job type means it defines the schedule if you want to run it immediately or later on. So if you want to run it immediately, then you have to put the value as one. Then backup type, what type of backup you want to execute. So for that also, if you want to run a full DR backup, you should have a value as one. If you want to run the differential backup, then it should have a value as three in there. So I have put out the value as one because I want to run the DR backup in the like I want to run the full backup. Now guys, all this information is been given in the JSON format. Okay, if you go back to the Commvault this REST API documentation in there, This information can be passed on in the two format, either in the form of XML or in the form of JSON, but we are using JSON. That's the reason why we have written in that. So you will notice that whenever they define any information, they are defining that information. If you are using the JSON format, then you have to put the value 1 for the job type. But if you're using the XML format, then in that case you have to write down as immediate, not value as 1 or 2. In the same way for the backup type, if you are passing the information in the form of JSON format, then you have to put the value as 1 for full backup, 3 for the differential backup. But if you are going to pass on the information in the form of XML in your coding, then the value should be put up as full and differential. We'll not go into the XML part in there, but just to give you the information about this page. Okay. Now, then there is some more information that need to be passed on, like what is in what format you want the output, whether you want the output in the form of XML or JSON. Right now, I want the form output in the form of JSON, so I have written except application slash JSON. And now, when you're going to provide the payload information, in what format it is, so it should be in the form of JSON. Like I'm providing that information in the form of JSON, so I have written content type. The input content type should be the application.json, and then I have to provide the authentication token. So guys, if you remember, we have already discussed in the last video that how to get the authentication token. So this authentication token we have been passing as an input. Now this is the line where you are going to send that information. You can set this information over here. Okay, the response will be printed. So I got the response. Like this line is actually going to print the status code. If you remember, we have talked about this. If everything seems to be fine, the status code should be 200. So it will help you to troubleshoot. If it's not 200 something else, then you can identify there is some problem with that. Okay, and then the response that we have it, I'm just telling my scripting that response to be expect is in the JSON format. So I've just stored in the variable called data, and then I have just printed the data. So in there, the data will be printed. So output will look like something like this. Okay, so this is the code. This is the status code which we have. So this is 200 because of this line we have printed, and then because of this print JSON dot dump data. So this is the actual output that we are going to get it. Like it will give you a task ID, and then it will give you the job ID that is being created. So what we are going to do is quickly we are going to initiate. So let's generate a fresh token. I'm not sure if it's been expired or not. As I informed in the last video, the token will be available for 30 minutes by default. So let's generate a new token. So I will just execute this one, this cell. Okay, so token will be generated. I'm just waiting for the token to get generate. Okay, so it's gonna take few seconds in there before it can show us. So it is the token that is being generated, and now I can generate this, execute this part. So I will execute this part, and now it is trying to execute in there. It will show me what job ID will be initiated after this command completion has been done. It will be very quick in the environment. In this lab environment, it is slow because it's a very low configuration environment that I have. So you can see that there is a job ID 18 that is being created. So if I have to validate the same thing, I can go to my command center and I just try to refresh in there. So you will be able to see there is a job ID 18 that is being created over here. So you can see a disaster recovery backup is being initiated. So this is how you can actually perform a any kind of operation from this particular REST API page. It's always like with my experience, what I feel is like it's always better to go to the more details and try to explore the official documentation if you're facing some issue. Now in the next video we will try to do some more excited few more tasks, like we might try to initiate the backup for a sub client or something like this. We'll try to extract some information using this API. The basic idea over here is to just to give you the idea how to use these particular REST API. Again, the requirement can be a different for the different customer. For the automation, you might require to combine many of these REST API and do some operation. But we'll try to use one or two scenarios as well, try to replicate. But this is a video is to show you that how you can use these particular REST API. One more thing, guys. over here I am using the Jupyter notebook to execute all these particular tasks. But in the last video, the way I showed you on the Python, you can whatever the this code you have put it up in there, just copy this code as well in the end of that same Python file, and then you can execute the entire Python file together. That will also work. But this is the more suitable way or the easiest way to explain you the task. So that's the reason why I'm trying to use a Jupyter notebook. Okay, so that's it, guys. We'll meet next time with the next task on the REST API. Thank you.